Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, anyways, man, I wanted to release my little fight reviews yesterday of both the Virgil Ortiz versus Aegis Velasquez fight and also the Guillermo Rigondeaux versus Riel Casimero fight, but I just ended up being too tired, so I apologize for not releasing them as soon as I could. But anyways, man, I'm releasing them this morning, so let's get into it. So the first fight that I'm going to talk about is the Guillermo Rigondeaux versus Riel Casimero fight. For those of you overall that did not hear about the decision or did not hear overall about the result, Riel Casimero, the Filipino fighter, ended up retaining his title and ended up getting a split decision victory over Guillermo Rigondeaux. Scorecards were interesting. I believe one judge who scored it for Guillermo Rigondeaux had a 7-5. I certainly, could have seen it that way. Another judge had it 8 rounds to 4 for Riel Casimero. I thought that was a bit wide, but it is what it is. And then, of course, you had the judge that scored it 9 rounds to 3 for Casimero. I certainly thought that was a bit wide. Let me say this, man. Some of these Cuban fighters have actually been some of my favorite fighters for a very, very long time, and that includes Guillermo Rigondeaux. Guillermo Rigondeaux is a person that I always have loved to watch for many, many years. I always thought that he was a very decent boxer. He does have certain flaws in his style, and one thing that the Cubans need to work on is that even though they're excellent defensively, sometimes their offense can be somewhat limited. What I'm going to say is this, man. I remember when Araceli Lara fought Canelo Alvarez. I remember when Mayweather fought Pacquiao. I remember certain things like that. Now, Mayweather, he's not a Cuban fighter. But my point being is this. Whenever you have a defensive fighter or a fighter that likes to be on the back foot, you have a certain amount of people that always like to say, well, they're just running, and that's why I don't like their style, because they're just running. Well, if you're on the back foot and if you throw consistently, like what I thought Lara did against Canelo Alvarez in certain spots, although you can argue that there were certain rounds where he should have threw more, so it is what it is. But Mayweather against Pacquiao, Mayweather also against a certain amount of other fighters, that's not running to me. What Guillermo Rigondeaux did yesterday, that is what's called running. That is actually what running is, because Guillermo Rigondeaux, I would see certain times where he would move around the ring for probably a minute, maybe even over a minute, and he would not even throw a single punch. That's how bad it was yesterday. Guillermo Rigondeaux, that is an example. That is a true example of what running actually is. When you move around the ring and circle around the ring and really just stare at your opponent, you don't throw anything. Now, Guillermo Rigondeaux, you can say that he was more accurate than Riel Casimero, because Riel Casimero, he wasn't super duper accurate with his punches or anything like that. In fact, a lot of the times he'd be swinging the air. But when you're, the person that's coming forward, a lot of the times on the judge's scorecard, that may give you, the edge when it comes down to, at least in certain fights. And Rigondeaux, he wasn't throwing anything really. I mean, they both landed very similar, same amount of punches, but Riel Casimero, he was the one that was being forward the whole entire time. He was pushing the aggression, and Rigondeaux just barely threw anything when it came down to it. And Riel Casimero, he wasn't throwing a whole lot either. But in a fight like this, you have to throw consistently. And Guillermo Rigondeaux just didn't. I'm not sure if it was because he didn't have the energy. I said in my video that I was wondering, with Guillermo Rigondeaux being at 40 years of age, would he have the stamina? Would he have the energy to move around the way that he did? And obviously he did, but did he have the same energy to move around the way that he did and also throw consistently? Maybe not. I don't know. But Guillermo Rigondeaux, when it comes down to it, it's unfortunate for him. Personally, who would I have scored the fight for? It was really close for me. A certain amount of people may disagree. Maybe I would have scored it for Rigondeaux just by a little bit, but you can score for Riel Casimero as well, because once again, Rigondeaux, he just wasn't throwing anything, and that's the problem. Once again, this is one of the few times where I will actually say this is a classic example of when someone actually is running. I'm not a person that uses that term very often, because I don't mind defensive fighters, but this is what excuse me, this is what running actually looks like. This is what running actually looks like. Guillermo Rigondeaux did himself no favors yesterday. He ended up suffering the second loss in his career. Riel Casimero, he's not really the most technically sound guy. He relies a lot on one shot knockout power. He relies a lot on the one shot knocking people out. But and one thing I noticed yesterday is that he relies a lot on trying to get on the inside and trying to hit him once they escape the clinch. Well, Guillermo Rigondeaux wouldn't let him escape the clinch, so a lot of the times Riel Casimero he couldn't get his certain shots off. So it is what it is. It wasn't the most entertaining fight, but do I necessarily disagree with Riel Casimero getting the fight? No, I don't, because Guillermo Rigondeaux I thought should have done more. I thought that he should have done a hell of a lot more. I do understand that he's 40, but you had a certain amount of opportunities and advantages and possible counter, striking abilities to possibly get in there, and you didn't take it. So it is what it is. So Guillermo Rigondeaux, unfortunately, he loses, or at least for himself, and he has really no one else to blame but himself. So it is what it is. That's what I thought on the fight. Let me know overall what you guys thought. I thought it was a fight that could have went either way. But I can't necessarily disagree with Riel Casimero getting the fight because Guillermo Rigondeaux, he just really didn't throw anything. So it is what it is. But anyways, that's really about it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what y'all thought. And I'll talk to y'all later.